Good afternoon. It's my great pleasure and honor to be speaking to you this afternoon. But before I really begin, I'd like to take a moment and say thank you to all those who have helped us, the seniors, on our journey through our school year, now graduation. First off, I'd like to thank the administrators of the MC Squared Co-op, those who have gone before and those who are administrating now. I'd like to thank Ms. Leslie Kent, Ms. Sandy Smith, Ms. Monty Woolley, and then our current administrators, Ms. Sandy Tipton and Ms. Angela Ferguson. These ladies have worked and continue to work so very, very hard for us. And they deal with all the day in, day out nitty-gritty of running an organization of this size. And thanks to all their behind-the-scenes actions, we can come here on a Friday morning expecting a wonderful day of fun and learning. I'd also like to say a big thank you to all the moms who work so hard to prepare lessons to teach to us. Without their dedication, without their hard work, we would have no classes, and we would not be able to have a co-op. I'd also like to say thank you to our dads. Dads, you guys just are really, really awesome. You work so hard so that the moms can stay home and prepare lessons and homeschool the kids and then bring them to co-op on Friday mornings. Some of the dads have even rearranged their work schedules so they can come here and teach us classes. So we want to say a big thank you to our dads. I'd also like to thank those seniors who have gone on before us. I'd like to thank Jake and Jared Dubon and Miss Madison Duncan. You guys have been an awesome example and a wonderful role model of leadership and service. Thank you so much for that. And finally, I'd like to thank my fellow graduating seniors. I'd like to thank Callie and Daniel and Hannah and Ian and Sarah and Victoria. I know we've made many wonderful memories together, and I hope that through our lives that we'll be able to make many more together. You know, there are many differences in homeschooling. It's not quite the same as growing up in a public school environment. You know, just as with everything else, there are pros and there are cons to homeschooling. And I want to share a few of them with you that I'm sure my fellow students can relate to. One of the pros of homeschooling is that you don't have to eat cafeteria food and you don't have to pack your own lunch. But there is a downside of this. One of the cons is that you're always available to do the dishes. Now, homeschool students will tell you that any day that Dad gets a day off from work, that's a valid school holiday. But Earth Day, President's Day, Columbus Day, Martin Luther King Jr. Day, those days usually count as school days. And while some people will say that a public school teacher's hands are tied, I can tell you from experience, my teacher's hands were never tied. And there's no such thing as a substitute teacher in homeschooling. You know, if your mom gets sick, well, you just get extra assignments to keep you busy while she rests. But if you get sick, do you get to rest? No. You see, well, if you get sick, the school nurse, your mom, almost always agrees with the teacher, your mom, in deciding that you are too sick to go to a friend's house. But you can still finish that algebra assignment. And if you're even too sick to manage that, you just have to rest on the couch, well, not to worry. There's always another educational video for you to watch. Now, society has an expectation. Society will say that homeschool kids are boring, or that they don't learn as well, or that they're not very socialized. But I'd like to share some memories to the contrary. You see, I say that if someone thinks that, well, they haven't been to co-op. I think I speak for all the seniors when I say that we've had some wonderful times here. Co-op has been a great place for finding awesome friends, for making wonderful memories, and from learning from patient and dedicated teachers. So I'd like to share just a few of those memories with you. Perhaps fellow students and co-op moms, you can relate to some of these as well. One of my first memories of co-op is taking Simple Machines class with Miss Angela Kelly. I still remember building those gearboxes and cars and trebuchets, messing with levers and inclined planes, and then at the end of every month we'd have a little contest to see who could build the best machine to demonstrate these principles of science and engineering. After that, I remember taking survival skills with Miss Edie Whalen. She taught us how to do all those important things in life, like how to take care of a baby, or how to write a check, or how to tie a tie, or how to change a flat tire, or even how to interview for a job. We had lots of good times there. And by the way, who knew that folding laundry could be so much fun is if you did it in a relay race against your classmates. I also remember chemistry labs with Miss Lisa Puckett. I remember that about every other week, or for sure at least once a month, one of our precious pieces of lab equipment would break. A thermometer or a beaker or a test tube or watch glass would give its life to science, and we would have to hold a funeral in its honor. Rest in pieces. I remember that while most of our experiments went as we intended them to go, occasionally one would go awry. One such experiment involved using a balloon to measure the amount of gas released in a chemical reaction that we contained inside a 2-liter soda bottle. Well, one group's balloon slipped off of its bottle and proceeded to fly around the room, showering us all with baking soda and vinegar. On another occasion, we were observing an exothermic chemical reaction. And to do that, we put 3 tablespoons of sodium hydroxide in a beaker and filled it with water. Well, one student mistakenly added his 3 tablespoons of sodium hydroxide to a beaker that was full of water instead of the recommended very small amount of water. Well, the result was that the solution boiled over and sent a wave of steaming ooze across the countertop and a cloud of noxious fumes for the students. So, obviously, we took it outside to the sidewalk and did it again. Science is, as you all well know, both testable and repeatable. And so, 3 tablespoons of sodium hydroxide later, and what do you know? To this day, there is still a large burn mark on a certain sidewalk in Hearst. Miss Lisa sure was a wonderful science teacher. And by the way, for any of you who are planning on taking her chemistry class next year, may I recommend you use 4 tablespoons of sodium hydroxide. I remember this past semester taking economics and personal finance, where debt is dumb, cash is king, and a paid-off home mortgage is the status symbol of choice, taught by my mom, Miss Kathy, and the Dave Ramsey DVDs. We also learned a lot about supply and demand, free markets, interest rates, and the important aspects of personal finance, including, but not limited to, giving, saving, spending, budgeting, and investing. I doubt that anyone in that class will be getting a credit card soon, so moms, put yourselves at ease. Miss Kathy has cured us of that. In physics class with Miss Amy and the 2 girls, I became the class lab rat. Thanks to Miss Amy, I now even have a t-shirt to prove it. Here's why. When our instructions would say something like, rub a balloon in your hair to build up a static charge, Callie would say, oh, no, you can't use my hair, it's already fixed. And Madison would say, oh, no, you can't use my hair either, it's already fixed. And so I became the source of static electricity for the next several weeks. Well, one day, I was homesick. And I came back next week, and the girls said, what were you doing? Where were you? And I said, I was homesick. And they said, how dare you be sick? Next week you just come anyways. Even if you are sick, we had to rub balloons in our hair, and it just ruined our beautiful hair. And other things they did to me involved swinging a pendulum at my face to test the conservation of energy. They had me jump up and down on a scale holding weights to show the difference between mass and weight. And they also had me touch numerous electrical circuits and components to see if they would shock me, which they usually did. Some of my favorite class memories, however, are from Latin class, which was taught also by Miss Amy. We had so much fun in Latin class. We studied about Roman culture and the events surrounding the eruption of Mount Vesuvius and the destruction of Pompeii. And however, some of my favorite times were when we studied the myths about Hercules. Miss Amy would always have a Latin passage, but then usually she'd have a little illustration next to the passage so you could see what was going on. So if you couldn't translate the story to see what Hercules was doing, there'd be a picture of Hercules fighting the Hydra, or of him cornering the 3-headed dog, or of him killing a lion. Now, on the National Latin exam, they usually had stories and illustrations as well. So the illustration would be of the hunter who was turned into a deer, or the story of a boy who was watching his favorite charioteer race in the circus. Those were great to jog your memory or to help you if you needed to guess the correct answer on the exam. But to really translate Latin, to really understand it, you had to know how the words changed their endings to indicate their function in a sentence. But not to worry, Miss Amy always had a song to help you remember how the parts of speech went. For example, the words of the first declension always follow the pattern A, AE, AE, AM, long A, AE, ARUM, IS, AS, IS. The first declension. And that was put to music and sung over and over and over again in class. But Miss Amy had a rule. This rule was, if you sang the song, you always had to end it with the jazz hands. You sing the song, you end it with the jazz hands. And now, this had a very funny side effect, because you could tell when you were taking a test where your friends were on the exam. Okay? So suppose question 7 asked you to decline a noun from the first declension. You could look over at your friends and you could see them doing this. And so when they did that, you knew they were on question 7. Now, in addition to being a very inspirational teacher, Miss Amy was also a very, very motivational teacher. One day she came into class and she told us, the National Latin exam is coming up, and if you guys do really well on the exam, then the national organization will send me certificates and awards to present to you. And that will be our open house presentation. At open house, I'll call you up here and we'll deliver your awards. But if you fail the exam, we won't have awards to give you. And so we'll have to go to plan B, which is we'll get up and sing a song in Latin. And so we asked, what Latin song? How did the words go? And she replied, Ego amo te, tu amas me, sumus laeta familia. And so we all start trying to translate in our heads. We go, ego is I, amo is to love, and te is you. So that the first line is I love you, and then sumus means we are. Laeta is to be happy, and familia is a family. So that would be we are a happy family. And so as she sees the wheels turning in her head, she just gets this evil grin on her face and starts singing. Ego amo te, tu amas me, sumus laeta familia. It's the Barney song sung in Latin. I love you, you love me, we're a happy family. And so you could just see the color just drain from the students' faces as the horror set in of instead of getting an award, if we fail the test, we have to stand up there and sing the Barney song in Latin as the high school Latin class in front of the whole co-op. Oh boy, did that ever motivate us. We studied hard, and I'm very happy to tell you, we all passed our Latin exam. We all got an award, and nobody had to sing the Barney song. So, some of my other favorite times at co-op were playing the games outside during lunch or after class was over in the afternoons. Those are some of my favorite memories. I remember playing disc golf out in the field or rushing dodgeball on the driveway between the parking lots. But my favorite game that we played was speedball. It's like a game of football that never stops. It's a fast-paced, energetic kind of game that lends itself to wild plays with the players making unbelievable catches and touchdowns. But although we made many wonderful catches and many great touchdowns, I don't really remember those. What I do remember are the lessons that I learned while playing speedball with my friends. You see, speedball is a game that involves running quickly, changing direction rapidly, throwing accurately, and then catching consistently. So that means that the players who are the tallest, or who are the fastest, or who can catch the best balls, well, those are the players you want on your team. But you see, the older boys, they were all great sports. Jake and Jared Dubon especially made great leaders and great team captains. They were always sure to include the younger boys and anyone who wanted to play. You know, if a boy couldn't catch very well, or if a young lady, she couldn't run very fast, they wouldn't let that turn them down. They would say, no, come here, I want you on my team, I want you to play for us. And then not only that, they wouldn't just have the younger children run around in a circle not doing anything, but rather they would always be sure to make sure that everybody on their team, big or small, got a chance to catch a ball and run in for a touchdown. See, that's what sticks out the most to me is their leadership and their example. They were never too competitive, but had fun, whether they were winning or they were losing. At the end of the day, at the end of the game, we would all shake hands, and the winners would say, good job, that was fun, I enjoyed playing with you. And the losers would say, it sure was fun, we'll just have to try again to get you next week. And by the way, just in case you're wondering, the girls made excellent speedball players as well. Now, along with the other members of the Chi chapter of the National Homeschool Honor Society, I was been privileged to take part in many different service projects and volunteer in many different ways. I remember that as a group, we cooked somewhere around 40 casseroles, we smoothed ruts out of a field, we visited nursing homes to talk with and to play with the residents. Play piano for the residents. We cleaned out a food pantry. We built shelves. We did babysitting. We sorted donated clothes. We moved huge cases of water bottles. And then, of course, everybody's favorite, we sold junk food to the little children after co-op. Now, some of you may not know this. It's a little-known fact, but the Honor Society students are all required to attend the snack table. So they all have to stand there while the snack sale is going on. And so that means we have to stare at the snacks for about 15 minutes while we're selling them to other people. And so it turns out that the Honor Society students end up buying the most snacks. Some days we joke with each other. We say, you know, today I think we made more money from ourselves than we did from our fundraiser. Now, as for homeschool students being boring or not learning as well, you'd probably be surprised if I told you of some of the conversations that MC Squared students have during lunch. Like most other kids, sometimes we talk about books or about movies or about music, but then other times we have these conversations that you know only homeschool students would have that conversation. You know, a conversation that goes something like this. So, in physics class today, we learned about projectile motion and the range equation. Did you know that your house is about 3.1 miles from my house? And so the range equation indicates that if I were able to build a cannon and aim it at a 45-degree angle relative to the ground and launch a projectile at 500 miles per hour, neglecting air resistance, that projectile would land in your backyard. How about this one? So today in Latin class, we learned about the layout of Roman cities and the kinds of buildings that were in them. And so I'm working on building a computer-generated 3D model of a Roman city. It'll let me take a virtual tour, go for a walk down the street, or look inside the buildings. Once, someone said, "Can you show me the plans for your flamethrower?" There's also been discussions on how to make a magnetic coil gun, the properties of capacitors, Boyle's ideal gas law, how to find a derivative, and my all-time favorite, how to derive, formulate, and then use probability equations in Minecraft. Now, so you see, society's expectation is wrong. Growing up as a homeschool student at MC Squared has given me wonderful friends, given us wonderful friends who are great examples, knowledgeable teachers who encourage us to reach our academic potential, and numerous opportunities to serve and lead. And then, of course, how could anyone forget the junior and senior banquet? It would be impossible for me to name everyone who was involved in it, or had a part of making it such a special night for us all. So let me just say this. To anyone and to everyone who had a part in it, I want to say thank you on behalf of the seniors. That was a wonderful night, and I'm sure that I can speak for us all when I say that we will treasure those memories for years and years to come. But what about our expectations? Fellow seniors, what are your expectations? Are you planning on going to college or launching out into life? Well, I think you'll agree that we should all dream big and then pursue those dreams. You see, we are well prepared to achieve our goals. Our parents have worked hard to teach us and to train us and to make MC Squared what it is. So let's be careful not to take that for granted, but rather, let's build on that strong foundation that we've been given and set great goals for ourselves. And I know that if we set those goals and work hard, I know that we can achieve them. But younger students, what about you? You see, we, the seniors, are graduating, and that means that someone needs to step up and be the leaders and examples that co-op needs. Juniors, I want to challenge you. Step up and be those leaders, academically and socially. Be a good example for those who are younger than you. Teens, set great examples for each other and for the younger students. Work hard in your classes, and be sure to welcome all the new faces. You never know who might be your closest friends. Pardon me. Following good examples and setting goals is great, but it won't do us any good if we don't work to achieve those goals consistently and persistently. So dream big, plan ahead, but then be willing to put in the effort required to execute your plan. Be a proactive leader, a positive example, and always be willing to help someone else. You know, someone once said, someday your life will flash before your eyes. Make sure it's worth watching. You see, life is a series of choices, and the memories of tomorrow will be the choices that we make today. So let's work hard, dream big, and then work to achieve those plans, and make the choices that we make today be the best ones they can be. Thank you so much.